What's up, guys? It is Sam here, and tonight I wanted to talk about a comment that I got from a viewer on YouTube. And thank you for the comments. I really do appreciate all of the feedback and just interesting dialogue going on in the comments. But he was like something along the lines of, because I looked for the comment, I couldn't find it. Yang is a tech guy, and so he is going to rank well online. So he thought my ranking was biased from who was actually going to show up and vote in the election. So I wanted to walk through some interesting data and trends that's going on that gives me at least some type of indication that something else could be happening, and we could see some very interesting things happen in 2020 when it comes to the election. So with that being said, before we get into it, my name is Sam. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you're returning, it's good to freaking see you. Okay, let's get going. So, first I wanted to touch on this article here by The Atlantic. Brace for voter turnout tsunami. Okay, and then we're just going to come down here and read this top section here. Signs are growing that voter turnout in 2020 could reach the highest levels in decades, if not the highest in the past century, with the surge of new voters potentially producing the most diverse electorate in American history. That's incredible. That was published a couple months ago. So we jump over to Pew Research. And I literally just Googled this. Let's see. I just Googled generations of voting 2020, and I scrolled down here and I was like, oh, I've heard of Pew Research before. Come over here, and if you look at these top 10 articles here that pop up, it's older data. It looks like because they're doing research, so it's not probably as published nearly as frequently as articles might be. But we're going to go through some of these titles here and see if there's a trend. So Gen Z, Millennials, and Gen X outvoted older generations in 2018 midterms. In year of record midterm turnout, women continued to vote at higher rates than men. Historic highs in 2018 voter turnout extended across racial and ethnic groups. And if you come down early, like a 2020 electoral, take away Latino, blah, blah, blah. The 2018 midterm vote, diversion by race and gender and education. Hispanics engaged in 2008. Hispanic voters more engaged in 2018 than in previous midterms. More Latinos have serious blah, 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 facts about in mapping. So there's, out of the top here, we have the top 3 articles all about record turnout. So I'm going to tie all this together with his comment about who's actually going to be voting. But I wanted to take a look at some of the things that go into who might be voting and why, just the idea or the thought process on why some of these things are changing. So here we have a breakdown of the generational names that we've come up with, like boomers, Gen X, millennials, and etc., etc. And if we take a look at this, this is also from Pew Research, and this is the labor force. So millennials now represent the largest portion of the labor force in the United States. So what does that mean? Well, that means people below people in the older generations who had control of how companies were run, the things that companies did, the actions that they took. Well, those people are retiring. And people like you and me are stepping into those places and changing the direction of these companies or entities that we're in control of in a different direction that we feel is the right way. And now we are representing the largest portion, anybody else who is a millennial, is representing the largest portion of the workforce, which means that now we also have the money, right? Versus the baby boomers. And when you have money, even though some of the people watching this may be very paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, it does things. when there's a large portion of the population that has a growing proportion of the total amount of money that's generated in an economy, things start to really change. And in the last slide over here, we also have something from Pew Research, and this is the projection for the 2020 elections. So if we take a look here, we've got in 2016 elections, generations X, Millennial, and Z. So these are the people who are like 53 and younger. That represented 56% of the vote in 2016. In 2020, well, in 2016, baby boomers and silent and older, I don't know how the fuck you get that name as a generation. Like, who the fuck comes up with these names? Seriously. But boomers, so basically anybody 54 and older up until whatever age, just into, hundreds or whatever, represented 44% of the total amount of people that were voting. And what we have here in 2020 is a projected 62% of total voting coming from Gen X, Gen Z, and millennials. So as the allocation of different generations shifts within the economy for voting purposes, things start to change because people have different views on things, have experienced different things, have been through different things. So things start to change. And the other thing, in terms of, well, that's all good and well, Sam, but they're still not going to turn out to vote. Your shit is still all online versus how these polling data has gotten. Well, let's think about some of the behaviors of people 54 and older versus the behavior of people that are younger, on average. They tend to use technology more, right? The people 53 and younger tend to use technology more than baby boomers and the grandparents. That's just what it is. And because they use technology more, yes, that's going to indicate well on my ranking here. But that's where that generation is turning for data, not to the legacy places where people found data and media, like the radio and television and newspapers. Like, that's all online now. And people are coming to be influenced by what happens online. It's been happening for, 2 decades now. And that's just going to continue. So I think when you look at the voter projections and the increase in participation rate, along with the younger portion of the population going out and voting more, I think it actually adds more relevance to my power ranking on these candidates, which I published before this. If you want to check it out, just go to the channel and watch the video right before this. Is 12 minutes of pure gold. You should go check it out. Like straight up gold. So, by the way, if you leave that comment over there, I will share it on my Instagram story when you leave it. So, I just have to see it. Anyways, don't forget to subscribe. So, I believe this data helps support using my ranking from social media, Google searches, YouTube searches on these candidates to see who's more relevant and the growth rate of their social media, their donations, and all of these factors together, I think is going to provide more predictive power than the polling data is able to accurately predict. I think that we will see over time if that is accurate, but that's the intuition, that's the feeling I'm getting, because it's way more representative of what is happening with America, especially when you look at the data of more people are online all the time, and the portion of population that's going to be voting is the portion of the population that happens to be online more. So it's just, you know what I mean? Anyways, if you guys have any comments or thoughts, I love reading them and responding. Let me know down below in the comments. Don't forget to press that subscribe button, and there's a little bell notification. If you tap that bell notification, YouTube will notify you when I post a video. Lastly, if you want to support the channel and support this message of what we're doing, share this video with somebody. If you don't want to do that because you're like, fuck that dude, I want to support his shit that much, like it was cool, but it wasn't that good, then just share the message of like what I'm talking about in terms of there's another way of looking at the world and what's happening in the U.S. that's way more accurate than the traditional ways of doing things. And articulate that message, because I think that message should be out there a lot more than it really is. There's a different way of doing things. This is 2019, and I think it's about time some of these things start changing. So if you don't want to do that and even share the message, press that thumbs up button. It does help out the channel. It hits YouTube's algorithm and puts this video in front of more people. I appreciate you guys, and peace.